So in every single tripod review video that I've ever done, I always get the same question, and it's always, why haven't you reviewed Promedia Gear tripod or Ballhead? I'm gonna rectify it today. This is made by Promedia Gear. We're gonna be reviewing the Ballhead as well as the tripod. I've taken this all over the place. I've abused it. I've used the crap out of it. Let's take a look and see how it's held up. Today I've been using the Promedia Gear tripod. Overall, it's been a pretty cool setup. It's big, it's beefy, it's fairly light because it's carbon fiber. Any piece of gear that I review on this channel, I give away to you guys. So if one of you would like this bad boy, if you want to receive this in the mail, you need to hit the comments section below. Tell me what tripod you currently use, where you're from, and most importantly, you got to make sure that you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. So hit the comments section below if you want this pretty awesome tripod. This is probably the most expensive thing I've ever given away. So the set of legs that I've been reviewing are the TR344L, otherwise known as the 34mm tube and a 4-section tripod. So Promedia Gear, as the name suggests, is really targeting the pros out there. It's not an affordable set of legs. The set of legs is going to set you back this much, and this Ballhead is going to set you back this much. So as we look at the design of the set of legs, first of all, one of the things that I really like is the fact that they have an all metal or all aluminum, I think it's aluminum, twist lock. Which is great because there's nothing to go wrong and they're gonna last. But when it's really cold, metal twist knobs are really cold on your hands. So as long as you're wearing gloves, it'll be okay. I've mentioned that in the FLM video that also had a set of metal twist locks. I really like that on a tripod. They do get super cold when you're using them in places like Iceland. But I love the fact that there's nothing to go wrong. They also have a lot of traction. So when you're wearing gloves, it's easy to grab onto them and loosen them up or tighten them down. Up here at the apex, they have both a black and a red set of apex, which kind of gives it its own look. You know, there's a lot of these more expensive tripods, they get very conservative with color choice, but I like that Promedia Gear has that red option if you're interested in that. The leg lock mechanism is very much like FLM now, or Really Right Stuff, where you have this push-pull mechanism where you can push it out from the inside or pull it from the outside. The one thing that is different, however, is that it is not ratcheting. So as I move this to the top and then bring it down, it does not ratchet. That's one of the things that I like about both FLM and Really Right Stuff, is that ratcheting mechanism. And when I went into this review, I was pretty sure that that was going to annoy me, that, you know, I'm so used to that ratcheting, and it took a little bit of getting used to. But I found that there's actually some benefits. So for example, if I'm in a shooting situation where I'm shooting low and then I decide to get up, walk around, maybe change positions, I can close the legs, walk to a different location, spread the legs again, and because these did not ratchet, it's going to go down into the same leg position. I do like that. So another unique feature about this tripod is the way that the legs are actually attached to the apex. They have this mechanism that actually only tightens from one side of the legs. And what's interesting about that is they say that the legs will never get loose and floppy. I've had this for probably 3 months, and I've shot an absolute ton with this tripod. And I can validate the fact that the legs have not changed their tension. It might be a little bit snug, but it's because of all of the sea salt that I have up in here. I really need to clean this thing, but they have not gotten loose, they have not gotten tight. By now, with this amount of shooting, any other tripod that I've ever had would take an adjustment of some kind to at least dial in the tension of the legs again. I haven't had to do that with this tripod. So the model of the tripod that I have is a 34mm tube. It's a 4-section tripod, and it's a long, or it has that L, which signifies that it's very tall. They have longer tubes. And I'm 5'9", and you can see how tall this thing gets. It's pretty much the same height as my Really Right Stuff and my FLM tripod. And yeah, it's as tall as you could ever need. I've said it in those other reviews before, when that is really incredibly useful is when you have one leg downhill You can extend that lowest leg down to where you can bring the operating height of the tripod up to eye level or however high you need to be. Sometimes it's just really nice to have a super tall tripod if you have to shoot over a bunch of tourists or something. One more thing about the tripod is that they do come with spikes, and the way that the spikes attach, they screw to the bottom of the standard foot. So if we unscrew this standard foot, what we can do is we can take this tripod spike off. I don't have a way to do that right now. And then it stores inside of the foot. So we would thread it upside down inside the foot and then screw it back onto the tripod. And then you have your spikes with you at all times. And you know, I wasn't sure what I would think of this spike setup, but I ended up just kind of leaving the spikes on all the time because it's kind of nice. But when I was in Oregon and I was using these and shooting seascapes down on the beach, I found that this amount of spike is enough. It's not, you know, it's not the big long spikes that I have on some of my other tripods, but the spikes did the job. I didn't experience any kind of like undercutting when the waves would recede. And it is really nice to be able to store these inside the tripod foot, so you always have them with you if you need them. There's nothing more annoying than wanting them and then realizing they're all the way back in the car and in your glove box or something like my other spikes often are. You always have these with you and you can always throw them on, assuming you have some kind of Allen wrench to loosen and tighten these down. One of the things that we've been doing a lot is we have to wear gloves in these conditions, and this giant knob is really awesome. You can be wearing a set of mittens and operate your ball head easily. So it's been pretty cool. I'm gonna continue to shoot, and the next time I see you, I'll be in my warm office. Let's talk about this ball head. This ball head is probably one of the most unique designs I've seen on a ball head in a very long time. It obviously features this giant handle on the side, and what I like about it is just how simple it is. It's only got two knobs. It's got your tension knob, and then it's got your panning knob. It also has a giant oversized bubble level on the side. And another thing I forgot to mention about the tripod is it's got a giant bubble level on the side as well. It's way oversized. It's actually the biggest one I've ever seen on a tripod. Really handy for dialing in level base. But the ball head, what's unique about this is the fact that it has so much articulation. You can, especially if you loosen this, you've got so much articulation that you can achieve. More than 90 degrees up, more than 90 degrees down. This giant knob is so comfortable to use. You will notice, however, that it has a Really Right Stuff clamp on it. The reason for that is because, well, I didn't break it, but I definitely bent this clamp, the knob. It comes with a standard twist style knob, which I've always been a bigger fan of the levers, especially the Really Right Stuff levers, just because it's quicker and I like it. Because this knob sticks out so much, at some point I threw it in the car, another tripod got piled on it, and I bent the knob, or I bent the screw that the knob screws to. So I took that off and I put a Really Right Stuff plate on it, and I'm sure Promedia Gear is not gonna love that. But the combination of this ball head, which I actually grew to really, really love, and my favorite plate from Really Right Stuff with this really nice quick release clamp lever, it's such a great combination. The biggest downside that I found with this ball head is just its size. I'll show you some size comparisons with this next to my BH55, which, you know, until now was the biggest ball head that I use. It's quite a bit taller. It's probably about the same weight-wise, but the biggest downside to this ball head is just the bulk of it. You know, it's not the easiest thing to travel with. You know, if you're flying and you're putting your ball head in your camera bag, that represents like the size of a lens, you know, and it's nearly as heavy. So this is not a light and compact setup, but it is absolutely a pleasure to use. It's kind of the Cadillac setup. It is really, really nice to use, has all the stability you would ever need. So if we do some size comparisons, let me show you how it compares to my previous tripod. So here is the Promedia Gear, and this is the FLM. It's got a BH55 on top. the tube size on the FLM is actually 42 millimeters. So you can see that it does have larger, thicker tubes, and the apex is larger as well, but the downside is FLM is definitely heavier than this setup. And now if we compare it to my Really Right Stuff, this has 38 millimeter tubes and this has 34. So Really Right Stuff has larger tubes as well, but the length of the legs, the size of the apex, all very similar. Maybe the Promedia Gear is just the tiniest bit more compact at the top. The Really Right Stuff has the leveling base attached to it as well. But if I put the BH55 next to the BH1, you can see that the BH1 is actually considerably taller. The Really Right Stuff setup, again, is heavier than the Promedia Gear setup. So I've kind of alluded to the fact that I've really been hard on this tripod, and it's definitely showing some wear marks. If you look at the ball head, we're losing some paint on the side of this giant knob, and personally that doesn't bother me. It might bother you, I don't know, but it's held up really well. I've shot tons of seascapes with this and I've never cleaned it, and I'm definitely getting a little bit of that sand grit. Well, it's actually not that bad, but do have a little bit of sand in the twist knobs down here, and definitely have some corrosion building up in some of the nooks and crannies, but that's to be expected with any tripod. Everything on here is stainless, so I haven't seen any actual corrosion, no rust or anything like that, just a little bit of sea salt buildup. I think we should head back to the garage and clean this thing up so we can kind of, you know, give it a fair shake against these nice clean tripods. So let's go clean this thing up. Let's see how hard it is to pull apart, because that's another important part of a tripod, right? So let's take this thing home and clean it up. So I've given the tripod and the ball head a thorough cleaning, and I think they passed the test. They were actually pretty easy to take apart and clean, which is an important thing if you plan on buying a tripod this expensive, because you're gonna wanna take care of it. So the leg lock mechanism was actually very easy to work with. It has a small set screw on one side that you have to loosen, and then the other side just screws into that side. And then after cleaning them up, legs are definitely functioning a lot better. Ball head did clean up easily as well, but there was one issue that I found. Let me show you. So the issue that I found was actually with the tripod feet. Now remember I showed you that these spikes, they thread inside of the rubber feet. Well, I went to clean them up and I realized I can't undo them. Fault is definitely on me, because these spikes have been threaded in here through, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 different seascape shoots. And then I took it to Death Valley and I was using it on the salt flats there. There's a lot of sea salt and just salt buildup in general. I'm gonna have to try to soak these in some distilled water and hope that I can break these loose. But this is a problem. This is a downside to this design, is what happens if you can't break them loose, which I can't do. So I'm either gonna have to replace these with some replacement feet, or hopefully I can break them loose after soaking them in distilled water. So what do I think about the tripod? You get what you pay for. I know that this is gonna be out of the budget of a lot of people watching this video, but these are truly tripods that you strive to own someday. And once you shell out the kind of money that it takes to get one of these, you'd never regret your purchase. These are gonna last years and years and years. The tripod foot is definitely an issue, but it's a very small thing compared to all of this. It's all holding up really well. It's an absolute pleasure to use, and I'm gonna actually be sad to see it go. I think that between the legs and the ball head, I'm gonna miss the ball head the most. I really grew to love this really large, simple twist knob. It's such a simple design. You don't need, tension levers and all of the different knobs and levers that a lot of ball heads are using. Some of that stuff is just gimmicky in my opinion. This is just two knobs. They both work really well and you get tons of articulation. I'm really going to miss this ball head. It's not the cheapest. In fact, it might be the most expensive, and it's definitely not the lightest, but it is incredibly nice stuff. All right, so hopefully this has been interesting to some of you. At some point I'll do some kind of comparison video, and give recommendations for people that are not going to be spending $1,500 on a tripod. I know there's gonna be lots of people out there that are just like,
unsubscribe, Mr. Page. I've got a Me Photo tripod, and that's all the tripod that I really need.
and to those people, well, this tripod is not for you. But those of you that are interested in this tripod, you know who you are and you get what you pay for. I think it's one of the best on the market. Remember, if you're interested in getting this tripod in the mail, leave a comment down below. Tell me where you're from, what your current tripod is. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, everybody.